You can't be having a firearm and someone come and disarm you. You have a firearm for a purpose. So if a person comes to try and disarm you, you have to fight. We deal with criminals. Criminals, some of them, they carry firearms, some of them, they carry knives, dangerous weapons, but we deal with criminals. Typical example, yesterday there was a heist, attempt heist around Richmond. It is alleged that whilst the cash vehicle was driving, and the criminals came and shot at the vehicle, but they did not take any cash, but they disarmed them. So which means the criminals came and they stopped the security and they took firearms. So now they are more armed wherever they are from the firearms that were legal. Just yesterday morning the firearms were legal. Today the firearms are now illegal. Then you wonder where do they come from? They come from the people that have them legally. We've arrested quite a number of police officers from this police station. We continue arresting them and dismissing some of the members in this area. But sadly, start with, we've got the biggest harbor. In this harbor, I'm sure we have seen in the past, quite a number of drugs that we found from the containers. We are not searching all the containers. We wish we can search every single container that comes in. So there might be one or two of them that are finding its way into the city. Hence, we have this quite number of drugs that have been found when we are busy with operations. And you see the behavior of the youth also out there as they consume a lot of these drugs. So that's part of the problem that we're having. I mean, the coastline in this province is quite long, and there's a lot of ships as we talk. There's at least no more than 10 that are on anchor outside there. Anything can happen in those ships there. So our prevention strategy is to try and protect whatever comes through the coast, come into our province, to try and do a lot of policing in that area. There is challenges, but if we can win that side, we believe that we can reduce quite a number of the drugs that we find in our city. We're happy that the mayor has decided to join us here so that he can come and witness himself, because our biggest problem as law enforcement is buildings like these that are not properly managed. The owners have abandoned the building, and other people decided to hijack the building, and they demarcated different flats inside, and they're renting them out. And there's illegal connection of electricity and the likes. So the evacuation of people that are innocently renting, it's another legal process that the city must embark upon. So we came into this specific building where we were standing in last year, and we found a lot of bad things and people and illegal connections and legal occupation of the building. But a year later, people are still in the same building, and we are finding the same things again. So it means we now must come here as the police, and I don't think it's a fair thing to do. So we'll request that authorities that have got powers to take control of such buildings to recover them from illegal occupation, and that will help us to slowly win the fight against crime, because we go building by building, and once we clean them back and we make sure that they are properly occupied and they're properly controlled, and people are paying rates as they're supposed to, and there's proper connection of electricity and water and lights, that will just assist in bringing the law and order in this city. Look, we've arrested quite a number of police officers from this police station. We rotate them from time to time, but we continue arresting them and dismissing some of the members in this area. But sadly so, it's not only the police station that you will see it's bad, and generally we're going to have bad apples amongst us. Some of the police officers might be driving from outside this policing area, and come here and come and do some wrong things, and they've got wrong connections, and it then is perceived as if it is the local police, whereas it's not. Any other police officer might come here and come and do wrong things. We working with our partners on security industry and amongst others in the city. They are helping us with camera networks that they are installing around the whole area. So we are able to monitor activities that are taking place. That's why we've been successful in terms of correcting our members that are found doing the wrong in the area. But community is always going to have that perception. This is a very simple station, and the members that are working hard in the very simple station that have given us quite a number of arrests, the recovery of drugs and arrest of undocumented persons and the likes. So it would be wrong to simply say that the local station members are the bad ones. They're not necessarily the bad ones. There might be one or two of them that are in cahoot with criminals. But the big number of our employees that are working in this police station have given us good results that we can show you on paper. That is the hard work that they are doing on daily basis. The more cameras can help us on the streets here so that we can have a better control, be able to observe what's happening around the area, that will assist us. And really dealing with all these shops that we find here. There is a barber shop, there is a tuck shop of some sort, there is a chisanyama, there is all sorts of things that you find here. And all of these people that are renting these places, some of them are not necessarily renting the places because they are trading innocently. They are using them as fronts. They are dealing with bad things behind the counter, whereas they are portraying as if they are doing legitimate business. So if the city can really have strict measures in terms of the people that are renting these facilities, that will assist us because it attracts a lot of illegal activities, the majority of these shops that you find around here. So that's a start. And secondly, really the enforcement of people that are staying in these buildings. You're going to find a 2-bedroom that is rented from the owner, but there's 20 people that live in that place. So you'll find some of them are sleeping during the day, and during others are standing on the street corners. And at night time, those that are sleeping during the day, they're on the street corners, and at night, the others are sleeping. So those people are standing in the street corners, they tend to get involved with some illegal activities most of the time. Or even if they are not involved with anything, it just intimidates a tourist that walks around the street, because he finds these people that are just wandering around, have no purpose in the middle of the night. And you wonder, there's no shop that is regulated to close at a particular time. So why would you have a shop that is going to open until 10, 11 o'clock, a barber shop? Who's supposed to come and cut hair at that time? I'm not saying that I'm the one that must come with those rules, but if the city can help us and regulate the operating time. So we'll like, when the sun goes down, keep the shops that are really necessary to entertain the tourists that comes around, essential goods that might be needed by the community out there, such as medical facilities and the likes. But to have a shop where you buy clothes, or you have a shop where you do your hair and the likes, that stays open in the middle of the night, it attracts unnecessary things. This is not a shopping center, this is the city. So it really creates a problem for us. So we'll plead with the city to help us with that. And also maybe the mayor, as we speak to, that will help us in increasing number of Metro Police officers that are employed by the city, so that they can help us to police them. Because if we can secure this area, then tourism is going to grow. But for us, we then can pay more attention on what's happening out there in the township. We always talk about the likes of Nanda and many other places. We have to focus there, while at the same time we must look after the tourists this side. So we get stretched out. So that becomes a problem for us.
Appreciate your time.
PC, we have a huge issue with the proliferation of illegal firearms in KwaZulu-Natal. Are you going to do any operations that are aimed solely at, making sure that you're cracking down on illegal firearms?
We deal with criminals. Criminals, some of them, they carry firearms, some of them, they carry knives, dangerous weapons, but we deal with criminals. A firearm issue is something that at the head office from the ministry side they're trying to assist us with, in terms of reviewing the laws on the issuing of a firearm license, the sales of firearms and ammunition, in order to have a better control on that. So for the police to go and sniff out firearms is not going to be an easy thing. There is no tracking device in these guns, so we cannot guess where the firearm is. But if we get to hear that someone has a firearm in their possession, our job is to go and locate that person. And once we locate that person, of course, if the firearm is illegal, we're going to arrest. But if the firearm is legal, we leave the person. If the firearm is not involved in any criminal activities, we leave it. It will be there. The second part, typical example yesterday, there was a attempt heist around Richmond. It is alleged that whilst the cash vehicle was driving, and the criminals came and shot at the vehicle, but they did not take any cash, but they disarmed them. So which means the criminals came and they stopped the security and they took firearms. So now they are more armed wherever they are, from the firearms that were legal. Just yesterday morning the firearms were legal. Today the firearms are now illegal. Then you wonder, where do they come from? They come from the people that have them legally. So the better control in terms of those that are issued with guns, that you can't be having a firearm and someone come and disarm you. You have a firearm for a purpose. So if a person comes to try and disarm you, you have to fight. So if you fight and you make sure that you defend yourself, it helps us, because if you surrender that firearm, you are arming these people to go and kill someone else. And while you are walking free and you say, no, nothing happened to me, it's fine, the farm is gone. So we hope we're going to be assisted at the ministry side with regard to the farm controls in that regard. But other than that, the police are going to continue, for instance, at Inanda last night or early hours this morning. I'm sure you're familiar with the notorious gang that always terrorized Inanda. 6 of them have been arrested this morning. Fortunately, they did not put out a fight this time. So 6 of them have been arrested with firearms recovered from them, and they're in custody as we speak. So we hope the community of that area, again, they're going to sleep peacefully, knowing that some of the bad guys are behind bars. And we continue arresting. As we arrest them, we find illegal firearms. So that's how we're recovering guns as part of our strategy.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you heard it from the boss himself, guys. Lt.Gen Mkhwanazi actually motivating the police, in their fight against the gang and the crimes in South Africa at the moment, which actually almost feels like a war. I actually stumbled on a report that, I think it was yesterday, that 6, really wanted gang members were actually gunned down directly in Durban in a police raid. And I think it's really important that we go through that report to really understand, the depth of, what's really going on with crime in South Africa. So the report actually, I found this, I think it's on the Star, the Daily Sun. It actually argues that there were 6 suspects who were actually wanted for multiple murders, you see, and extortion cases. And extortion, now I actually stumbled on a documentary and it really touched me anyway. The whole case with extortion. I found a really young businessman, a South African, really ranting, and I think he's trying to start up a business, just a small business, I think a kiosk or something, which I think you South Africans call spaza shops, okay? And then he's actually being extorted to the point where I think he doesn't even have enough money to continue the business because of this extortion thing. I think it's for protection services, so to speak. And so it says that in Durban, there were 6 of these suspects who were actually wanted for murders and extortion cases, and they were shot, fatally wounded. They were shot and fatally wounded in a gun battle with the cops in South Beach, Durban, just before midnight on 2nd of September, that's Monday. And it says that the KZN Police Commissioner, Lt.Gen Mkhwanazi, actually said that they were youngsters, okay? He said that they were recruited into crime easily because they had nothing to do, you see. And this takes me back to Schem's interview with Sylvester Mofokeng, who actually described how criminality in South Africa has slowly become an art because of the high unemployment rate is 33%. I think some reports even say it's about 35 to 37%. A lot of people, a lot of South Africans, especially I think the blacks in the townships, are really unemployed. And so violence hasn't now only just become a necessity. It actually has become an art, a way of expressing that anger, you see, for the breakdown of society in South Africa. And so that's actually what Lt.Gen Mkhwanazi is actually arguing here. That most of these guys who perpetrate these crimes are youngsters. I think the report I saw from that other documentary I watched, where there was this guy, I think he was 24, who actually raped a teenager and murdered her to death at the age of 24. So it's really crazy how much crime goes on. It's Thabo Mbeki, in a speech he was actually giving today at the Thabo Mbeki School of Africa School, he actually speaks about how South Africa is not just, South Africa is a really violent space. It's a really violent society, and government has to really start discussing what to do about violence in South Africa, because South Africa seems to be a home of violence, not only a gender-based violence or, to film, but it's a violent state, okay? And so government has to start talking about this, especially at the level of the GNU. But anyway, it speaks about this case in Durban. It says that the provincial police spokesman, Colonel Robert Neshiunda, actually said that cops were actually tracing suspects who shot 5 people and killed 4 of them in an execution style on Siyafambili Road in Shelimnyama. Okay, which is Marian Hill on September the 1st. So on September the 1st, that's Sunday, this last Sunday that just passed, there were suspects who actually shot 5 people and killed 4 of them. This is really crazy. It's almost like a movie going on. What's really happening in South Africa? It's almost like a movie going on. I remember listening to a speech by, former President Thabo Mbeki. He actually spoke about how a report was released, I think, by some security consulting group or so, And they actually argued that the number one cause of death in South Africa, one of the reasons why young people die, I think probably many people will guess maybe it's stabbing or shootings and all that. One of the number one cause of death in South Africa is quarrels. So two people quarrels and they got so angry and they killed each other. So that's number one cause of death in South Africa. And what kind of society is really emerging out of South Africa? It's really a cause for concern, and the GNU should really take note of this. So anyway, this police spokesman says that, there were 5 men who were seated on the side of the road drinking alcohol when the suspects arrived in a vehicle armed with pistols and a rifle, and they ordered the victims to lie down before shooting them at the back of their heads. Just like that. It's really, 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 really something. Anyway, it says that the police followed information that the suspects were hiding in Newlands East, okay? And upon arrival, further intelligence was collected that the suspects were at a rented holiday apartment on South Beach Avenue in the Point area of Durban, all right? And so when the police announced their presence at the apartment, the suspects, they opened fire immediately, and actually a shootout ensued. Now, all 6 of the suspects were shot, and they were fatally wounded during the shootout, and the police officer says that no police at all actually sustained any injury. And from this video you could hear this is actually not Mkhwanazi speaking after this incident, but in this is actually an interview where he's actually encouraging the police officers not to be, not to lose guard or lose their arms, because he's explaining, like you hear in this video, that the reason why there's a lot of illegal firearms in the hands of many people in South Africa is as a result of that dispossession of police. So police doesn't necessarily have to be weak. Police has to fight to the point where they preserve their rifle and preserve their armory, so that what was once legal in the hands of the police can actually become illegal in the hands of a criminal in one instance, you see. And so this is how Lt.Gen Mkhwanazi actually addresses this problem. Anyway, this report says that the suspects were also linked. These 6 suspects that were actually shot by the police and fatally wounded were actually linked to a triple murder where 3 men were shot and killed near a talk shop on Main Road in Mpumalanga Township in Hammarsdale on Friday the 30th of August. So this seems to be like a group that actually continues, this whole rampage of killing people. It's really difficult to understand why. The report says that they were also linked to a Friday evening robbery at a shop on the ground floor of the apartment where they were found. And it is also suspected that the suspects were involved in the illicit drug trade. So prior to the thorough search of the apartment, the police found 3 firearms in the possession of these suspects, and that it says that the firearms will be subjected to ballistic testing to ascertain if they could be linked to other crime scenes. And police actually says that police is actually hot on the heels of the person who booked the room for the dead suspects. Okay, so anyway, this is actually where crime in South Africa has really gotten to, where there are groups of people who just go about killing and robbing, and if you're actually robbed and if you do not agree or something, you are shot dead. That's the kind of society that might likely be emerging for South Africa if police doesn't come together. And I think that this might be too overwhelming only for South Africa's police. That's why I have this idea that other African countries around, the governments have to collaborate to really try to see if there could be some external help, because this appears to be like a war, in South Africa. So if there's likely to be some kind of external help from other African governments, or even at the level of the African Union, to come to try to combat this whole level of violence in South Africa, it might actually go a long way in trying to protect South Africa, protect South Africans, and create a safe space for the entrepreneurial spirit in South Africa to grow. And also the fact that President Cyril Ramaphosa and some ministers have actually gone to Beijing. I think it was in Shenzhen. I'll be doing a video about that at the Shenzhen business community in China. These guys are really massive entrepreneurs. They are high volume thinkers, futuristic thinkers, and President Ramaphosa is actually inviting them to come and do more business in South Africa. There needs to be a safe haven. There needs to be a safe space for business to continue to go on, so that South Africa can become a much more boisterous society as it actually is designed to be. And so we're really hoping that the police in South Africa can actually keep out a positive spirit. General Mkhwanazi keeps on motivating the police officers to really continue in this fight against crime and violence in South Africa. But anyway, I don't know, what do you guys think about his speech in this video and the analysis? Share your thoughts. in the comments.